Hello everyone, today we have a werewolf bounce deck. So if you joined my last live stream, you know that I was playing around with a bounce build that used Sasquatch, and I think this one does what I wanted to do with that one, but a little bit better. It is far more flexible. It doesn't use the sometimes clunky Black Swan line. Sometimes the Black Swan line is going to give you just your game winner, that there's no way that they can outpower you. This one, however, is going to be a much more consistent curve of that power, and you have some alternate playlines that can be pretty interesting as well. So being able to do the Beast, the Falcon, pulled back into your cards, have your Werewolf scaling all the while into a big explosive Sasquatch plus Sage plus Rocket Line can be so dominant. You can also pivot and do your White Widow, bounce the White Widow, play it once again. You have the Viper to clear out any negative or sometimes just low power cards in your lane to congest the opponent when they're not expecting it, because you're not a full junk package. That's just a secondary line that sometimes is going to win you games. You can also sometimes get Acid Arrow from Kate Bishop, which is going to be fantastic, into that White Widow Viper line. But otherwise, it runs very similar to any other bounce deck. You want to curve your cards out early. Most of the time, you want to play your cards on curve or where you can into pulling them back in. Play them early, play them often. That way you can drop a bomb on the last turn and just absolutely overpower the opponent. Now, if you don't have Sasquatch, if you don't have Sage, there are alternate builds. I'll post a Black Swan alternate bounce build in the comment section. I'll pin the comment. So if you guys don't have Sasquatch, check it out down there. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. So we can go something like Rocket. Pull it over here. Kate Bishop and then Beast. With this, we wouldn't draw next turn, but I'm hoping that's okay. They do have a vision that they got to play down from the hub, but the Dracula comes into play, the Collector as well. We will scale the Rocket at least one time here, and then in the in mid we have Kate Bishop. We get the Acid Arrow, so a decent shout for Jotunheim, and then we pull back in Nico and our Rocket. No card draw, but I'm thinking that might be okay. The Sasquatch is a 3-cost card. Something like Sasquatch, Acid Arrow, Falcon, or something like Rocket, Nico. I'm thinking we go Rocket into Nico. Nico Rocket would never be the play, though. Destroying the Rocket is not our answer. I do want the Werewolf to end up over here, and then I'm going to bounce him a couple of times. This lane is huge. I'm just going to give up on mid. I think we can win left and right, depending on where and how they focus. So the Sasquatch coming into play, the Acid Arrow coming in, bouncing our Werewolf over. We're going to pull him back into mid with Falcon. Doesn't have anything to pull in, though. And then what else do we have? The Rocket scaling in the left, and then the Nico to pull our big Werewolf back over into the right lane. Let's see if it is going to be enough. Man-Thing comes in and it hurts us by 6. That is a huge amount of unfortunateness. The Proxima in the left lane, the Swarm, what do they have to discard? The Lady Sif is not going to be enough. We win left, we win right. We will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next. All right, next up we have Colombian. The first location is the Superflow, so extra energy throughout the entirety of this game, unless we or they change it. But as of right now, extra energy. I'm going to hold the White Widow. I know that we could play it this turn, but I almost would rather get the extra bounce on our Werewolf and let them fill up a few of their spaces first, and then we clutter them up and bring it the rest of the way home with the White Widow. And so that is what we're going to wait for here. Let's see. Wakanda Embassy does give us our patience. Our patience pays off here. We could now change the Superflow. I don't think we really need to worry about it too much. I'm going to go Werewolf into the right, into White Widow mid, I think is where we end up going. White Widow mid. We will be able to do the Beast to pull it back in on turn 3 as well, if we want to, because we would also hit the Werewolf, so I'm not certain that we want to do that. We get a second Beast, though, so beautiful, beautiful Beast play. I almost want to go Nico White Widow, or we just go... We could go Nico White Widow, And then our aim is to get like a rocket, a hood, or something outside of this middle lane for next turn so that we can pull the werewolf out and then beast bounce the mid lane back in. I know that we don't have like an enchantress or anything to deal directly with like the hawk line or the mystique line, which is obviously what they're going for. But I still almost want to snap into it. I'm holding back the want or the desire to snap here. But I do think we have a very solid hand. So the White Widow, they know that we have the secondary White Widow as well. And so we can always do White Widow into Beast into Hood, I think is the direction we're going to go with. Because I think they play into mid this turn to make sure that we can't White Widow them back in return, which is fine. The Ajax comes in. That is absolutely pretty deadly here. Unfortunate. But we do get the extra Nico. We get the extra White Widow. We have another Beast to pull back in. I'm assuming that their Time Theater card was Ajax, which is very scary. We'll have to be able to overcome at least one, which is a tall task. A very tall task indeed. So we get the rock. First time we've drawn an unfortunate rock. What can we do? We can go Nico. We could go White Widow, Beast, and then something like Sasquatch. And then we'll see from there. The Hawk in the right. We could have done our White Widow in mid and capped them out. Unfortunately, we did not. They haven't played their double up card, so oh, this is the double up card. I think they made a mistake playing this one versus the other one, because that lets us know exactly what their doubled card was. Nico into Hood, into White Widow, Demon left. That was rude. And so Nico into Hood. We may still win. With the extra card draw from Nico destroying the Hood, we can scale up in the right lane because it's lowering their Hawk. We do have the White Widow that's wanting to pull it over to the right. Oh my goodness. We do end up pulling this one out. It's a chaotic game. We end up pulling it out by being able to bounce at least a couple of times and ending with our Werewolf in the right lane, leaving the Ajax in case they went Hazmat. A much weaker line here, but one that we will absolutely take. We'll take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next. All right, next up we have rank number 15, Gnome. The first location is the Eternal's Arc, and so we're going to have to play our cards out rather early. I'm going to go ahead and skip on 1 just in case they don't have a 1-drop. We do have Rocket. I want to make sure that that hits if at all possible. We can always Rhino the left lane if it doesn't look favorable for us. We have Viper to send them a card as well. I think we go Nico, and I don't like it, but I'm going to destroy the Rocket. So Thena coming down in Camp Lehi. I'm going to save the Rhino for a little bit of surprise factor. Unfortunately, we're destroying the Rocket. I don't really care for it, but I think it's probably the best play for us to be able to start getting our early game scaling kind of up and running. We do have Kunlun, which is going to make our Werewolf scale dramatically. Let's see what else we can do. We have the White Widow, which is going to be great. I almost want to snap back into it. Because the Thena scales, that's great. But with Eternal's Arc, we could probably destroy Eternal's Arc on 3, have a healthy lead in Kunlun, Shadow King offset the Camp Lehi. They do snap into the Thena into Loki line. Interesting. Okay. We could do something like this. That allows us to next turn Do Rhino plus Beast. Rhino to the left, Beast in the right is what we're aiming for. They do go pretty heavy into Camp Lehi. If this wasn't going to turn 5, I would love to pick up the White Widow and then play it once again to really congest them, but we're not going to be able to do that. Our Werewolf, however, gets very, very big. They go Nocturne into a White Widow of their own. Unfortunate as that may be. Let's see, how do we win from that point? Nico is also an option here. So we can go Nico. I guess it's not a great option. Something like Rhino into Beast isn't fantastic, but it may be okay. So the Viper sends the Widow's Kiss our way, unfortunate as it may be, them using our cards against us. And then into the wave, let's see what we can make happen. The Rhino destroying the left lane entirely. Beast pulling in the Widow's Kiss, pulling in the White Widow. We're not going to be able to draw going into this turn, courtesy of them sending us that with the Viper, which I am not a huge fan of, but it is what it is. We can now, they're not completely stuck here, but they're fairly stuck. We could do something like Shadow King that brings us down by 6. If they scale it this turn, that brings us down by 3. So maybe, is that where we're looking to end? So we do that into Sasquatch. We might be able to, there might be a sneakier play with like a Sage line, but I just can't find it. And so they move their Nocturne over to the left. They play a card in the right. Our Shadow King is going to move into mid. The Werewolf jumps over there, so we win that one by a huge margin. The Gwynpool, what else do they have in the left? The Sage. The Sage is not going to be enough with the scaling of Camp Lehi. With the hub, we win it by 2. Very, very close, and we will gladly take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next. All right, next up we have Mr. Ambush. The first location is Nidavellir. We have our Hood. We have Beast. Fantastic start. If we can draw Werewolf, that's such a huge power potential line for us. But we'll see. We'll see what we end up grabbing. We do know that we have the Viper to send the Hood over, which is fantastic for us. Where do we think they play this turn? If they play. I'm going to play Rocket into mid. Hope they shoot something there, and they do with the Morbius. Looks like we're running into the second discard deck in a row, which are not super common. They are a little bit more common nowadays with the Moon Knight change, but still not incredibly common. So they get either our Viper or our Sage, and we get their Zombie Apocalypse. There he is, the Golden Apocalypse himself. So we can do a couple of things here. We can do Sage into a Beast. We could also look to do White Widow into Beast. This turn we could just Viper, and then next turn we could do the White Widow into Beast, pulling it back in. And then we have at least 2 of these locations taken up in the Morbius lane. I kind of like that a little bit better. Of course, we won't get to replay the Hood, get another Demon, which is a little unfortunate. But otherwise, I think it's a really, really good shot. We do have Shadow King to offset the Sage. So let's go ahead and go White Widow. Let's go Beast. I almost want to snap into this. Wait. Oh, the Sage they got from us, not the Viper. So we don't have to worry about them having our Viper because they had our Sage. Let's go ahead and drop this in, and we'll cap out that middle location. I think after this, we snap, now that I know that we have a lane locked in. Of course, Morbius can still scale, but that is what it is. We lose our Sage. They lose their Wolverine. Perfect for them. Very well calculated. But they are going to start running really low on spaces really, really quickly here. And so we can do something diabolical like White Widow, Viper, Rocket into Falcon to pull these back in. Our Sasquatch will be really cheap going to that last turn. We can have 2 of their remaining 3 spaces in the right lane filled. And so then they're not going to have a whole lot that they can do there. And then we can potentially rescale our Rocket once again as well. And so let's go ahead and lock this in. We have the ability to go Shadow King mid. We would need a little bit of support there with how much I think Morbius is going to gather here. We lose our Shadow King. We don't have Shadow King to offset the Sage anymore. They have the big Black Bolt in the left lane. They haven't thus far discarded their Apocalypse, so we know that the most that they have in one of these lanes is 8, or if they have a Dracula, then it goes to 13 as far as what they can push in one individual lane. So let's go ahead and focus on mid, focus on right with the Sasquatch, the Rocket, just in case they have like a Dracula, or if they go with the discard line with like a Mobius, I want to make sure that we can handle whatever scaling Morbius hits here. And so that is what we're going with. The big MODOK play is what we were kind of fearful of, because Morbius is going to scale quite a bit. And so I did push a little bit more there than I would have otherwise. The Dakin, it goes pretty big. I'm hoping that I think it's 1 over what we need here. And so the Hawkeye, the Demon, and we will gladly take the 4 cubes just ever so slightly. We were able to grab the 4 cubes. We will take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Pull 2 Gamer. The first location is the hub. It gives us Human Torch. So maybe with like a Kate Bishop, we can get some value from it. We do have Sage, which is such a value card for us. We have the Werewolf that's going to be jumping all over the place. Central Park is not fantastic for us, but it's also not awful. We can go maybe White Widow into mid. If they play into mid, we would have snapped going into next turn, try to hit Hydra Bob over there. But as it is right now, we're just going to kind of congest where we can. And so we do get Falcon. Let's go ahead and go Werewolf into Asgard, and then we can move it out after that. So they have a Nocturne, so they do have that mobile power. And so even if Hydra Bob popped over here, it wouldn't be the end of the world for them. Let's go Nico into Sage. It's going to give us a buffed up copy of the Sage. We give them Asgard. It's okay. I would rather have the hand space, be able to pull a few cards back in with Falcon, and to make sure that we get the big buffed up Sage, which is going to be such a big resource for us. It's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8-ish. I think it's going to end up being an 8 power Sage that comes back into our hand, and so that we can drop it again for a 16 or more power Sage, potentially. And so they do go ahead and play in mid with Quake. They go with the Quake and Shake, and we actually didn't even fight for the right, but they go Beast to pull in 1 Squirrel. They're going to draw into the 2 cards, and that's going to be it, though. And then Sage in mid ends up being the 10 power resource, copying back into our hand. On the last turn, we should be able to hopefully do both a Sage and a Sasquatch to have more than 20 power coming down on turn number 6, which can be really, really massive for us. If we went 1, 2, 3. So that's going to hit the 3 squirrels. But what it does for us is it brings our Sasquatch down to 3. It bounces Werewolf 2 times, once over to the right, once to the left. And then not only do we have that roving monstrosity of a wolf, we have the Sasquatch and the Sage, both of which are going to be fantastic. We don't have space for the Demon, unfortunate as it may be, but I think all is well. So the Nocturne here could get pretty spicy. Claw could get pretty spicy as well. I'd be curious to see what else they're going with. I know I went into this turn spouting about the Sasquatch Sage. I don't think that's the line for us. Victory. None of the above. We will take the 2 cube retreat. Go ahead and jump over into the next. All right, next up we have easy, and hopefully it is an easy win for us. The first location is Sanctum Sanctorum, which is not looking all that easy with us not having any way to reach that location. We'll see what we can make happen, but doesn't look fantastic. I'm going to go Rocket into Falcon. With the extra energy, I'm hoping that they play into the known location, and they don't. They are not making this easy for us. Anyways, we pull in to our Rocket. We can play it again into Beast. Do wish it would have scaled, though. Unfortunate. We can go Rocket, Beast. I'm going to go double. The double rocket did not pay off. We do have Shang-Chi, or Shadow King, that can offset the Cassandra Nova. I'll go ahead and throw it now, I guess. No, we'll wait. No, with Rock Slide, I don't think this is Silver Surfer. I think this is more of a Hawk deck.
Opponent snapped.
And so the Angela and the Angela come in. So huge scaling. I do wish we could have beasted the Shadow King back in, as unfortunate as it may be. But something like this is what we're looking at. I don't think they can afford to not play in Tinker's Workshop this turn to stop our rockets from scaling. I just don't think they can. And so we finally get a little bit of rocket luck. Those guys could have been huge. They're still going to be fine, but they could have been absolutely gigantic. Anyways, we have the two rockets. We capped them out in the right lane, so now it comes down to like a point differential. We get the White Widow as well. So this ends up being 2, 4, 6, 8. So in case they go something cheeky like Jeff here, the double rocket in this lane, the Sage overpowers the right. What an awkward game. They did not make it easy for us, but we will take the 2. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Wino, and hopefully they have hit the wine pretty hard, and we can grab a couple of easy cubes from them. So the Nebula tells me that this might be a Sandman deck. We have to be prepared for that possibility. They get a lot of advantage in Mojo World by having a potential Ultron, and so we have to be on the lookout for that. I'm going to go ahead and go White Widow. Maybe we go Viper as well as that follow-up play. Or we can go Rocket into Beast, pull those back in. We get a copy of the Rocket that we can play one additional time. And we'll have the White Widow that we can play again as well. I think that's what we're going to go with. There is a chance that they don't play in cloning vats, but I'm glad that they do. We are going to have a tough time drawing here, but I think that should be okay. Our rockets, as long as we make sure that they are down before